Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jack. I'm wearing a Dolly Parton jumper. This is JTH Books and it is time for the March wrap up. So, I managed to read 9 books in March in total. 8 physical, 1 audiobook. I listened to my first audiobook ever, friends. Did I enjoy it? Yeah. Just being at the gym, listen to my audiobook. Perfect. Don't have to talk to anyone, don't have to look at anyone. Just how I like my life. But let's not talk about that, because I have some facts and figures, some stats, if you will, from a year-old diary, because that's how behind I am in life. So let's have a look, shall we? Maybe I'm going to find where I wrote it all down. So that's very much my style. Give me a second. I don't know if you want the stats, but you're getting them. You're getting them. So, like I said, I read 9 books in March, 8 physically, 1 audiobook. That's 2,881 pages. Not bad, not bad. Feel like it should be more, but I'm not very good at maths, as you know on this channel, so I'll trust Storygraph. If you want to follow me on Storygraph, be friends with me on Storygraph, down below. So is my Instagram, so is my TikTok. I had 1 5-star read. What month? What a good month. I had 1 4.5-star read. I have 3 4-star reads. I have 2 3-star reads. And I have 2 1.5-star reads. That's right. We've been a bit tough this month. We didn't read 2 good books. And I'm going to tell you about them. I'm going to tell you about them. Okay? Okay? Should we get into the books? Should we get into the books? Also, March, G's released a solo single, so I had a good month. It was my birthday. I had to go to hospital, but we'll ignore that. That was like the blip. But other than that, I had a good month. I had a good reading month. So let's talk about the books. I'll stop yammering on. So first up, for my non-fiction for the month, I read Men at War, Love, Lusting, Fighting, Remembering by Luke Turner. Now, I really enjoyed this. It is it's basically a bit of a memoir, a bit of a look at the war, but it's basically how Luke grew up sort of obsessed with the war, that sort of generation of, well, I guess boys love fighting and war, don't they? You know, if you're going to stereotypically, you know, we grow up, let's be soldiers. It's very much a look at that and what it does to a boy and the toxic masculinity of war. It had a lot about planes. If you like planes, if you like bomber planes and Spitfires, and my granddad took me to an air museum once, so I'm trying to remember. He would have liked this book, well, parts of it. Yeah, it's just a look at, it was a real interesting look at what war does to the generations that are close to it and the generations that live through it. It's really interesting. I really enjoyed the bits about what it meant to be queer in the war and how it worked after the war. That was all really interesting. I could have done with a bit more of that, but it was one of my 3-star reads, so you know, it's a good book. I really enjoyed it. It comes out in April at some point this month. It's the 27th. I'm going to check and I'm going to be right, and I was. Next up, I read Eyes, Guts, Throat, Bones by Moira Fowley. Now, this is a collection of short stories. It is a collection sort of queer female short stories. Some of them horror, some of them not. Some of them, I'm struggling to remember a bit. All I know about this one is when the stories were on, they were on it. They were absolutely on it. There was like, I would say like 4 or 5 5-star stories in here that were really engaging. There's one that I really loved. I wish I could remember which ones they were. She's got the... Oh, Sad Straight Sex at the End of the World was really good. It's all split up into Eyes, Guts, Interval, Throat, Bones. So when they were good, they were so good. I would very, very much like to read a full-length novel by this author. But like I said, just some of them, they didn't hit the spot. Saying Its Name Breaks It, that was a 5-star one too. So, and it's one of the 3-star ones. It's one of the 3-star ones. I'm never going to sit and say to you, this was bad. If you love short stories, I think you'll really like this. But it comes out in April, and I'm very thankful to the publisher for it. April 13th. Next up, I read the book that you all voted for, or some of you, and it was What Belongs to You by Garth Greenwell. Now, there is a reading vlog of this. I'll link it down below. No one really watched it, so maybe I'm not very good at them. But if you watched it, you're a real one. So I won't go into too much detail here. This is basically about a man who meets a man in a bathroom for sex and pays him, and then it is their relationship that follows, their tangible relationship. I'm surprised how much was packed into this short book, in the sense of how much depth it goes into in their feelings and what happens, and how much you get to know these characters. And I just thought it was brilliant. It was the 5-star read of the month. It was absolutely brilliant. I'm so grateful you all chose it. I just adored it. I absolutely adored it. It made me cry 5 times. Well, like I said, watch the vlog. But yeah, I love it. I really loved it. It's my top read of the year so far. Well done, friends. I'm so grateful to you all. Next up, I read Rosewater by Liv Little, which is out on 20th of April. This was kindly sent to me by Dialogue Books. And in this, we follow Juliet, whose life is sort of falling apart. She's just been kicked out of her flat, and she goes to live with her best friend, who she hasn't spoken to in a couple of months. And then you follow Juliet as she tries to... Is her name Juliet? Pretty sure it is. It's not. Her name's not Juliet. That's the friend. Elsie is the main character. And she's trying to get her life back together. This was 4 stars. It was really, there's some absolutely beautiful poetry. It features poetry by Kai Isaiah Jamal, writes the poetry, and some of it is absolutely beautiful. She's trying to become a poet. She wants to be published. She wants books published about poetry. And it's sort of just her trying to find her way in life, which I think is always really interesting to read. It's immensely readable. I read it so quickly, I couldn't put it down. It's really fresh. It's really modern. It's a fantastic look at queer black lives. And I will say the ending felt a little rushed. Maybe just because I was enjoying it so much, I wanted more. But I would have liked maybe another 50 pages to just wrap it up. Maybe just how I wanted it. It just sort of feels like there could be another one coming, but I don't think there is. But yeah, I like I said, it's immensely readable. I couldn't put it down. I think it's going to be a really big book this year. I think like you could see this on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list for 2024, because it missed the deadline for this one. Early prediction. Imagine if I got that right, but it was early. It was very early. You never know what's coming in the year, but I think it stands a chance. Next up, I read Arthur and Teddy Are Coming Out by Ryan Love. Now, this was kindly sent to me by HQ Stories. It is out on April the 13th. Not long. When's this going up? April 3rd? So what's that? 10 days. You've got 10 days. And in this, we follow Teddy, who after a happy marriage and a long marriage... No, I've got the names wrong. In this, we follow Arthur, who's 79 years old, and he decides to tell his family that he is gay. And it sort of puts off his young grandson, who is figuring out his sexuality, and it puts him off telling his family that he thinks he might be gay. And you follow Teddy, who's the young one, Arthur, who's the older gentleman, and you just find them coming to terms with themselves. You find Arthur finally being proud in who he is, and dealing with everyone's shock, and in some cases, their nastiness, which I hate. And then you follow Teddy, who is working at a newspaper that his mum got him the job for. He's trying to prove himself. He's maybe fallen in love for the first time with a boy named Ben, and we know how I feel about the name Ben, and let's just say I was right about this book. Sorry. But it's a really, really sweet story. It's so charming. It's so lovely to read from the perspective of an older gay man who just wants to be who he is. This book is such a reminder of it's never, ever too late to be who you are. Just, if you can be in this world, just be who you are, and you will be so loved. You'll be so accepted. If not by anyone, you will be by me. Okay? That is a guarantee. You tell me what you are, I'll love you and I'll accept you, and that's it. That's done. God, I went off on a bit of a tangent then, didn't I? But this was such a 4-star read. It was just so charming. It was, it's about lost love and finding lost love and just everything. I just really enjoyed it. You'll finish it and it'll bring a smile to your face. That I can promise you. If you're looking for a book that's just sort of joy, just joy, this is it. Arthur and Judy Coming Out by Ryan Love. It's out April 13th. And I just, look, I put them to my face. That's the sign, isn't it? Now, this one I haven't hauled, but it is, well, you'll see that on the haul video next week, I'm sure. I haven't hauled it. It's one of the 1.5-star ones. And it is In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune. Now, this is a Pinocchio, a queer retelling of Pinocchio, of the Pinocchio tale. In this, we follow Victor, who is a human, and he lives surrounded by robots. He has a little robot that's basically like a dog, and he has a robot, I don't know what else. And basically they live in this very sort of secluded area in this little house here, and he accidentally drops some of it. He's like spills some blood, so then they know there's a human around, so they arrest Gio, his father, and Gio gets taken to, what's the place called? The City of Electric Dreams. And Victor decides to go rescue him, and he has rescued it's an old robot that's sort of been put out of commission. He rescues him because he finds him essentially still working, and he's called Hap, and I can't even talk about this book anymore. I didn't like this at all. I think if you like T.J. Klune's previous works, you will like this. I think it's sentimental. It relies on sentimentality. It's absolutely vapid. There's nothing to it. I think it's got these two, I can't remember their names. Well, the two little robots, they sort of bicker, but they really love, it's sort of that sort of, oh yeah, I don't like you, but I actually love you, I'll do anything for you. It's very much that. It's very much like the children of that other book, The House of Cerulean Sea. I think if you love T.J. Klune, you're going to love this. But I just thought it was rubbish. I did. I didn't care. The romance was absolutely pointless. I hated it. The characters had no depth. They had backstory, but they didn't have any depth, and there's a huge difference to that. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I'm very grateful for Book Break for sending it my way, and I don't think it matters 1 ounce that I didn't like it, because people love this man. They're going to read whatever he writes, and I'm not going to be one of them. It's out on the 25th of April. If you read it, good luck. If you read it actually and you love it, let me know. We'll have a nice conversation about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not, but maybe I am. So next up, it was my audiobook. I'll insert the cover here. It is A Tale of Two Princes by Eric Guerin. I do believe that's how you say it. And in this story, it's basically, you have Edward, who is going to be the Crown Prince of Canada. you're sort of gearing up for him to, you know, be, well, I can't think of the word, like have his big speech. And then you have Billy, who's from Montana. He's in New York to audition for Juilliard for the violin, even though he kind of doesn't really want to. And Eric's in New York because Edward is in New York because he has been a naughty boy and he's now gone to private school. And they bump into each other and it turns out that they're long lost twins. And Billy is actually the rightful crown prince. And this book was my other 1.5 star read. It wasn't good. I enjoyed the experience of listening to an audiobook, but that was about it. Edward complains the whole time that he does not want to be crown prince. And then Billy comes and he's like, oh no, actually, and turns out he's rightfully heir. And all he does is whinge after that and try to sabotage him. There's romances that came out of absolutely nowhere. Nowhere. They were not believable. None of the characters were particularly likable. He's like Billy's in for being a violinist, but hates the violin, doesn't ever want to play it. Really wants to be it was not good. It was not good at all. Think of The Parent Trap, but shit. That's how I would describe this book. No, it just wasn't for me. I really didn't like it. I really didn't like it. Right, let's get on to some happier news, shall we? Next up, I read the book that my best friend brought for me, or picked for me randomly in a bookshop. She just, she took her sweet time, but she came back with Frankenstein by Jeanette Winterson. Now, in this, you follow Rye, who is sort of works at a hospital and is delivering body parts to this man named Victor, who is using them in some way for his AI robots. And then you also follow Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, as she is writing Frankenstein. She comes up with the idea, as it's published, and her life that follows on. And the two intertwine. And I really, really enjoyed this. It was quite terrifying, actually, because it feels so that the author wrote in the author's note, and I thought it absolutely sums it up perfectly. This story is an invention that sits inside another invention, reality itself. And I thought it is absolutely true. It is so believable. It is so scary to me where AI is going, that to read a book like this that feels like absolutely real, it was scary. It's a look at the technology of AI. It looks at what it means to be human. It's the main character, Rye, is transgender, and to see sort of the juxtaposition, how people compare transgendered bodies to AI was really fascinating, and the Mary Shelley bits are fascinating. It was really, really good. Sort of the ending sort of shocked me, and it made me go, I don't know. I think it's just not a 5-star because it did take me a while to get into it. I didn't have a clue what was happening. It did make me cry at one point, and I'm going to read to you where it made me cry. I always feel like I read them to you and you're like, why would that make him cry? But it did. But he said this: I love you, he says. I want to hold this moment. I want to believe it. I want his love to have enough salt in it for me to float. I don't want to be swimming for my life. Just stunning. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize, and I really can see why. It's got that feel to it. It has something to say, and it says it. I just thought this was such a great piece of fiction. I really, really did. I mean, it's got to be in my top 10 for the year so far. It has to be. She's my best friend. She did a good job. She really did a good job. It makes you think. I really, really enjoy it. Now, lastly, I was sent Tales of the Suburbs Tales of the Suburbs by Justin David. Now, this was kindly sent to me by Incandescent. Incandescent, they're a small, independent queer publisher here in the UK. They've released some great books. They've got a few books by Justin David. I've got another one up there. I Am Not Raymond Wallace by them. There's Mainstream, which is a short story collection by them. They're really dedicated to publishing sort of diverse stories. Diverse stories are important, as we all know. And in this book, we follow... Well, it's a collection of stories that sort of follow Justin. Oh, not Justin, that's the author. That sort of follow Jamie, who is coming to terms with who he is. This was an absolutely 4-star read for me. It follows him at different stages of his life when he's a kid and he's not liking the stereotypical thing that boys like, and sort of how his family react to that. And it follows him when he's in London and university and he's got the first boyfriend. And it follows him as a teenager and how when the boys are all doing what boys do and he doesn't want to do that. And it really is just, I thought it was a brilliant collection of stories. There wasn't a dud in the bunch. And it, you know, the family in this does so many things that my family does. Like, you grew up Christmas, you had Christmas together, there was trifle, there was, you know, he was knitting with his nan, I did that. It just really, it's so vivid in my head, the storytelling in this, and the characters. And it says part one of the Wellston World Sagas. First Wellston, then the World. And I'm looking forward to part 2 and 3 and 4, if there's going to be that many. I really, really thought this was a glorious, glorious collection. I just loved it. I actually cannot wait for part 2. It just had brilliant stories in. And it is out, I believe it's out on the 2nd of May. I believe. So that was it. That was for me for the month. 9 months. Some high highs, some low lows. Which is sort of the story of my life. If you've read any of these, let me know. If you plan to read any of these, let me know. If you just want to have a chat and say hello, let me know. Let me know what you're reading, whatever. You know how much I like to talk to you all. I have a few feelings I might get a few comments about the TJ Klune book, which is scary, but let's go for it. Let's roll for it. I'm just being honest. I know you're going to love it, and I'm really pleased you love it. I would love to love books all the time, but it just doesn't happen. Thank you so much, so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thumbs up apparently really help, and no one subscribes, and there's a bell. Ding it. I'm going to speak to you all really, really soon.